whenever and wherever I could. Diving remained and will continue to be an important part of my day-to-day existence. Back to my father. When my book Cold was reviewed in his favorite magazine, The Economist, he urged me to write something about diving. Later, as Parkinson's disease ravaged first his body and then his mind, he grew adamant. I told him there were problems with such a book. Many great works had already covered the topic, but few had found a wide readership. And there was the question of whether my style of writing suited the subject. Most of what I had read on underwater exploration tended toward either personal exploits or something close to a textbook. But as an author, I was partial to narratives shaped by science and history. After several years of reflection, I realized that what I had to write could not be limited to diving in the conventional sense, but instead would tackle what I came to think of as humanity's presence beneath the waves. When friends asked about my work, I would repeat those exact words, and then I would explain myself, adding something like, diving, submarines, submersibles, and underwater robots. Even then, I had to consider how to capture the essence of my subject while also captivating readers. I had to figure out how to do justice to this amazing story. Well into the first year of research and interviews for what became In Oceans Deep, my approach remained undetermined until one day, while I was freediving, something close to inspiration struck. Afterward, of course, the book continued to evolve, and very late in the process, it went through a major change following an interview with the world's most famous female diver and underwater conservationist, Dr. Sylvia Earle. I never intended to write an unabridged treatise on humanity's presence underwater. I meant instead to create the kind of book that would leave a lasting impression. I wanted readers to finish the last page with a newfound or rejuvenated motivation to free dive, to scuba dive, to consider passage in any one of the increasingly common tourist submersibles capable of reaching beyond 1,000 feet, to watch undersea documentaries, to consider buying an underwater robot of their own, and to talk to marine scientists and submariners and the engineers whose work lies beneath the surface of the sea. In other words, I wanted readers to embrace the part of our world that is shrouded by depth. I continue to hope that In Oceans Deep will bring attention to one of the most important yet under-discussed topics of our time. Past accomplishments and the feats being attempted today are barely known to the general public. Even among those who work underwater, knowledge is far too compartmentalized. For example, champion freedivers may know nothing about submersibles, and submersible pilots might know very little about the strange gas mixtures that allow divers to breathe below 1,000 feet. And the link between the ways in which humans access the underwater world and the struggle to protect our troubled oceans deserves far more consideration than it receives. While my father passed away before I even began to write this book, I was able to finish it only because of him. The reality that he is not here to appreciate the result is among the tragedies of my life. But for those who see value in this information, please know that at least half the credit goes to my late father. Without his occasionally nagging encouragement, In Oceans Deep never would have come to be. Chapter 1. Descent. Early on January 23, 1960, a 37-year-old Italian engineer named Giuseppe Buono looked out at the Pacific and worried. After 2 days of towing the ungainly submersible Trieste onto location above the Challenger Deep in the Mariana Trench, the waves were growing. Here, 220 miles from the western Pacific island of Guam, floating far above the deepest point in the world's oceans, wave heights exceeded 5 feet. While seas of that size were mere ripples to an ocean-going surface ship, Trieste was built for calmer waters. On the surface, she was a fragile vessel. Buono had prepared Trieste for her 64 previous dives, and on this day he did not like what he saw. Trieste's deck was awash. The shallow water telephone used by Trieste's pilots to communicate with her support crew at the beginning of each dive had been swept away. The sea had also destroyed an instrument that measured speed of descent and ascent, and Trieste's vertical current meter hung from its mount.